Should former judges and Chief Justices of India be appointed governors? Well, that's the big debate tonight after the centre's move to appoint former Chief Justice of India P. Sathasivam as Governor of Kerala. In fact, the President approved that appointment this evening. The former Chief Justice says there's nothing wrong with it, but many eminent jurists have spoken out saying that it sets a wrong precedent. Justice Sathasivam, in fact, spoke to Ndtv and justified the move.
If I say no to this job, I have to do farming in my village. As a former Chief Justice of India, I can have good relations with the state and centre for the benefit of welfare of the people of Kerala. Justice Sathasivam's first response after being officially appointed as the next Governor of Kerala. Earlier in the day, over 100 members of the Kerala High Court Bar Association had written to the President of India, asking him not to appoint Justice Sathasivam. They argued that the post of the Chief Justice of India is higher than a governor and a former CJI should not accept it. On Tuesday, the Congress had questioned the appointment, saying it's a first for any Chief Justice of India to accept a governor's post.
Recently, after his retirement, for a Chief Justice to be appointed to a position like this unnecessarily raises questions.
A couple of years ago, commenting on post-retirement jobs for judges, this is what Arun Jaitley had said.
By judicial verdicts, post-retirement jobs are being created. Pre-retirement judgments are influenced by the desire of a post-retirement job.
But the BJP today defended the government's decision.
He became Chief Justice during the tenure while Congress was in ruling, and he was made a judge by the Congress party. So why are they questioning the credibility of Justice Sathasivam simply because BJP appoints him?
Politics apart, several legal experts too disapproved of the former CJI accepting the governor's post, especially since he heard high-profile cases.
Such a trend is very vulnerable, I must say. It's very vulnerable and is capable of being abused by the executive.
In our constitutional scheme of things, the Chief Justice of India administers the oath of office to the President of India. But by accepting the governor's post, now Justice Sathasivam, the former Chief Justice of India, will be in office at the pleasure of the President. With Sneha Koshi and Bhairavi Singh, Sandeep Phukan, Ndtv.
Well, the big debate that has been raised as a result of this appointment is whether it is appropriate for a former Chief Justice of India to be accepting the post of governor, whether it's something that the government should have done at all. We have former Attorney General of India, Soli Sorabji, joining us tonight, Senior Supreme Court Advocate Sanjay Hegde here in the studio with me. Former Law Minister Veerappa Moily is still with us, and we have Nalin Kohli of the BJP on the line with us as well. Mr. Sorabji, though, let me ask you first, sir, where you stand on this entire debate tonight. Do you believe, as Justice V.N. Khare does, that this sets a wrong precedent, or that Justice Sathasivam is well within his rights to take up this position?
Well, Justice Sathasivam is well within his rights, but the question is of propriety. You see, please realize that the governor has no security of tenure. He can be removed, he can be transferred according to the wish of the centre. Of course, it can't be done arbitrarily. But suppose Chief Justice Sathasivam, for whom I have high regard, and I don't question his independence, but the work he has to do is essentially controversial and political. Formation of a ministry. Who will be appointed Chief Minister? Will he accede to the request for dissolution if it comes about from some parties? Now there, suppose the centre finds that the governor is not very responsive, governor has become problematic, then the very independence of Sathasivam will be make him vulnerable. Because then they'll think, well, let's shift him to some other place. So what I feel is, in view of this consideration, it really diminishes the stature of the office of the Chief Justice of India.
Very strong words
Appoint
there.
him on some tribunal.
No, very strong words there from you, Mr. Sorabji. I'll take that to Nalin Kohli, the BJP spokesperson. Mr. Kohli, you heard what Mr. Sorabji said, that it diminishes the office of the Chief Justice of India. How would you respond?
Well, I mean, there can be different views about something, but I'd like to point out a few things. First, there is no constitutional limitation. If India has seen a former army chief, and there is after all only a single person who becomes the army chief, can contest an election and be an ordinary member of parliament out of some 543 members, if you can see a Supreme Court judge like Fatima Bibi becoming a governor, many High Court judges, and I can name quite a few of them, who went on to become governors of the states, then I don't see why this limitation should be there to anyone. And especially if you're saying that there is no issue of impropriety with Justice Sathasivam. Secondly, if he's holding an office which is of high constitutional office, an office of eminence, and he's eminently qualified, then therefore, would he not be adding value to that, to an institution that unfortunately some people have brought into disrepute by bad actions of their occupying this office? So I think it adds to it. There isn't anything that limits. And if you can extend the same thing to essentially a former Supreme Court judge, why not to a Chief Justice? Now, in any case, Chief Justices have been appointed to other institutions, the National Human Rights Commission to name one. There could be other possibilities. So with the head of the state...
Because it's not the same thing. Nalin Kohli, you
it
know
not
that the
same?
governor's office today is a highly politicized office where various governments, not just the NDA but even the UPA before you, these were largely political appointments that were made. What is this? And you know, the Chief Justice of India is not the same as a Supreme Court judge. It is the fourth highest position constitutionally in the country. It is a very important post. What does it do to that position if now today you have former Chief Justices then angling for political positions? I think that's the point Mr. Sorabji was making as well.
No, of course. And Soli Sorabji is a very eminent person. It's not as I'm speaking with any disrespect to him. I'm merely pointing out a point of view. Now, just coming back to the Chief Justice, a Supreme Court judge is also an extremely eminent person. And in a sense, you can't diminish their value. Of course, the Chief Justice is one person. It's a first among equals. The Prime Minister is one among the members of Parliament. But that is the basic qualification, that you have to be a member of Parliament before you become the Prime Minister. So therefore, let's take it to the next issue. That an institution has been politicized through acts of omission and commission of those who have occupied the position or the government of the day does not diminish the value of that institution. And after all, there have been only some approximately 500 governors since 1947 till today. The Congress is politicizing this after having years of having politicized the office. But if you have a person like...
But you're doing the same thing.
Holding office, here's my point. Are you not adding value to that office and ensuring that one who has been the Chief Justice of the country, he would never allow...
I have one more question for you though, before I open this up. You know, it was Arun Jaitley himself who had actually in a blog last year in February with regard to Justice Karju's appointment to the Press Council and comments that he had made about the Gujarat government at the time, written that judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts must not be eligible for jobs in government after retirement. In some cases, the pre-retirement judicial conduct of a judge is influenced by the desire to get a post-retirement. Now, this is something Mr. Jaitley wrote about, he spoke about, he said he strongly believed that judges shouldn't be given post-retirement posts. What changed? Why the U-turn?
Well, no, I don't think there's a U-turn. First of all, as Mr. Jaitley himself has pointed out, and he's entitled to have a personal view on subjects. So do I. So does anybody else. But a considered view of the government need not necessarily be the view based on a personal view of someone. So I think you're mixing two issues here. Two, is there such a large thinking that has been...
He was not just anybody. Nalin Kohli, he was leader of the opposition. He was leader of the opposition at the time. He wasn't just a senior BJP leader.
Of course. And I'm not diminishing Mr. Jaitley's position in the BJP in any way. He's someone we respect immensely and we work with him closely. I'm just simply pointing out that he had a view also of the Henderson report. And as he himself said, that this is what my personal view has been. So I think you need to say, until there is a considered view across the political spectrum that sets up these terms, why is it that we question everything that the BJP would do or a government there as something that they are breaking constitutional propriety, or that it is malafide in its intent, or that it is being done as a return of a political favor, as very rashly and absolutely unexpectedly the Congress party is trying to protect.
Nalin, just stay with us. I just want to ask Sanjay Hegde, can you dismiss Mr. Jaitley's view as a personal view? Do you think that a major impropriety has happened over here, a wrong precedent?
I think it's a wrong precedent. And I don't think Mr. Jaitley was just expressing a personal view long ago. You must remember that Mr. Jaitley had also been law minister. As law minister, he took exception to the conduct of Governor Fatima Bibi, who was then governor of Madras, and a report was sought from her about the arrest of Mr. Karunanidhi, who was then a BJP ally. At that point of time, the governor's report didn't please the centre. Mr. Jaitley said things, and the governor then resigned. Now, this is how a former Supreme Court judge has fared as governor. Now, the High Office of the Chief Justice of India, somebody who has been guarding the Constitution, interposing between citizen and the state, if he seamlessly transits from being Chief Justice of India straight out into being a governor, then a citizen is entitled to ask, is there something wrong? Is there a possibility that this job was offered to him while he was Chief Justice? You see, the independence of the judiciary also depends on the perception of impartiality. Mr. Kohli spoke about value being added to the office of the governor. I am worried about value being detracted from the office of Chief Justice of India. After all, an impartial judiciary is the key to maintaining the independence of the judiciary. The appearance, even the slightest appearance of impartiality being lost, I think is too huge a price.
I want to clarify here, though, that there's nothing to suggest that
there is
Justice Sathasivam himself has done anything improper, but you're saying that questions can be raised in future.
It's a question of Caesar's wife being above suspicion. We look upon the Chief Justice as pater familias of our entire institution. Chief Justices of India have gone into political office only once, and that was Chief Justice Hidayatullah, who became Vice President of India many years after he retired. There has been no other transition.
I do want to ask Mr. Veerappa Moily, though, that Mr. Moily, while the Congress has spoken out very strongly on this issue, I think one of the problems here is that even the Congress party, you appointed a former chief, I mean, you nominated to the Rajya Sabha a former Chief Justice of India. He became a Rajya Sabha MP. There have been former chief election commissioners, for instance, who went on to become members of parliament and in the Rajya Sabha, who were nominated again by the Congress party. I think the point is that slowly over the years, various institutions have become highly politicized in this country, whether it is the office of the governor, whether it's the office of the chief election commissioner, and all parties are contributing to that, including yours.
Here the question is totally different. You should understand, it is a constitutional propriety. We don't say it is illegal, unconstitutional. But even for a very ordinary civil servant, there is something like cooling period. Here the immediate past Chief Justice of India getting this kind of a position, it's a political position. The manner in which the governors are transferred or the removed or terminated, it all reflects tomorrow the same fate will be faced by Justice Sathasivam, and he should not have accepted it. And in fact, that is particularly to uphold the dignity and the independence of judiciary. That has been totally ignored. So that is why we question on that constitutional propriety for an immediate Chief Justice of India. More than that, he is a most eligible candidate for the Lokpal appointment. Maybe that it may be some design to avoid him from the Lokpal. There's another part which I don't want to get into that. And the number of some the high profile cases which he has dealt with immediately while he was laying down the office, and people definitely connect it. This is not good for the personality, and more than that, it's not mere individual like Justice Sathasivam. It is a question of CJI, and it opens up a lot of controversial things.
No, but Mr. Moily, if you talk about propriety, was it
not,
proper?
No, I don't say.
Was it proper?
No, maybe.
Was it proper for the Congress to nominate a former Chief Justice of India to the Rajya Sabha? That was also not proper then.
That's different.
No. Whatever is improper, it is improper. I am not here to justify that. But what is done today is totally constitutionally improper.